Let me get to one other team I want to talk about, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. Coming into this season, coming into the offseason for sure, coming out of the offseason, felt like they were the sexiest pick to be the best team in the NFC. And at this point, they clearly have not been that. They are 1-2-1. They play in Philly this weekend in what is a really interesting game. And their coach, Mike Zimmer, who was very critical of his own defense coming out of their last game, is now talking about not panicking. He says, this isn't a time for woe is me. If people remember, we were 2-2 this time last year. We finished 13-3. We were 5-0 the year before. We finished 8-8. So all the predictors, this isn't a good time to predict. What do you think of this? Because the Vikings have not looked nearly as good as we thought they would.
That particular quote, that particular statement, I don't want to hear that from Mike Zimmer. Here's why. You already put your team on Front Street by talking about the defense and how it's the worst that you've seen it in quite some time. They gave up over 500-plus yards to the Los Angeles Rams. That's the most yards the Minnesota Vikings as a franchise has given up since 2011. Not only that, keep in mind, they gave up 62 points in the last 6 quarters of the playoffs. 24 in the second half to New Orleans, 38 to Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game. They went out and got Kirk Cousins because the belief was that was an aberration. We're going to be Super Bowl contenders. Our defense is set. All we need is a quarterback that is more threatening than Case Keenum. So you pay Kirk Cousins $84 million, guarantee him $28 million a year over the next 3 years, okay? And then lo and behold, your defense stinks up the joint. They are horrible. They have been a disgrace. We all know it. That doesn't mean they can't turn it around. I know better than that. I'm not going to put myself on Front Street like I used to do with the whole Bounty Gate situation before brothers like Jonathan Vilma and others had to call me out, and they were right to do so. But this, no, I don't have to worry about that. And here's the reason why. Because Zimmer said it himself. It's not just us pontificating and talking about what we see from the periphery. No, he gave us insight into what they're lacking. He's validated it. And the bottom line is the defense stinks, and there's no excuse for it with him as their head coach.
Well, Kirk Cousins validated getting paid because he's been terrific.
Yes.
It's, as you mentioned, it's not on the offense. This is a classic example of, for me, of a team that's going to play to its level of competition. And I guarantee you guys, Minnesota's going to look a lot better this weekend versus Philadelphia. And when you go out and you play well and you find a way to beat them, then we're not talking about their struggles as much. I feel like they're going to play a lot better.
And I'll say this, too. I mean, the loser of that game, we're going to have a lot of headlines about the struggles they're undergoing, but we thought the Vikings would be so good because of their defense. And sitting there in their division is a defense that is actually separating themselves from everybody else, and it's the Bears, who suddenly look like the best team in that division.
Listen, first of all, Khalil Mack is that dude. That's number one. Number two, sorry, but it brings our attention to our former colleague here at ESPN, Mr. John Gruden. What the hell were you thinking in giving that dude up? And number three, it gives attention to the Raiders ownership. You can find, no, this is not a cap situation with the coaches, but you can find $100 million for John Gruden, but you can't find money for Khalil Mack. That's a problem. Optics. From an optics perspective, that looks bad. But last but not least, I got to admit, last week, although it was against Tampa's poorest defense, Mitchell Trubisky actually looked like he had some skills. I mean, I looked at him out there. I was like, wait a minute now. They moved up together. He doesn't look that bad. So we don't know right now.
I think you said something he might disagree with. Did you say the Bears were probably the best team in the division?
I think they're going to win the division.
I think he probably believes that that's Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
No, I believe in Aaron Rodgers, that bad man that he is. I never said I believe in the Green Bay Packers, not with that defense.
Look, here we are. We're 5 weeks into the season, right? Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy are talking about how their relationship isn't that bad for the 10 trillionth time. The Vikings are trying to explain to you their defense isn't that bad. And all the Bears are doing is sort of being quiet, dominating on defense, and the young quarterback is improving. They are the team to beat in the division.
Greeny, with all due respect, that's not fair. And here's why.
Because
when you got that bad man that is Aaron Rodgers, it comes attached with expectations. The Bears have no expectations.
Right,
everything they do is playing with house money.
Right.
They're lucky.
But the Bears now have an identity, like I told you they were going to have once they traded for Khalil Mack. And don't underestimate your bad man, who he plays this weekend. Without 3 of his wide receivers, they will be losing to the Detroit Lions.
Oh, please. See, that's just emotion right there. That's just see, I was fine. You said that just to mess with me. You said that. First of all, you are in no position to be bloviating about the Detroit Lions. I mean, could you win a playoff game? You haven't won a playoff game since 1991. Could you stomp it? Could you stop
actually,
it?
we
When are you going to
only-
call out Matthew Stafford?
Actually, I have on this show, just like Derek Carr, just like Jimmy Garoppolo, as a team that overpays for the quarterback position and not now has the ability to build out the rest of their roster. And let me give you the better stat.
He called out Matthew Stafford?
Yeah.
He did? He really did?
He called after the Jet game. He was very hard on Matthew
didn't
Stafford.
realize.
And, by the way,
realize
number
that.
one, we smacked the Patriots. Let's not forget that. And I'm going to help you modify that bad Lions stat. We've only won one playoff game in 60 years.
It's not nearly, it's way, way worse.
I know it's way, way worse, but I'm just saying, I didn't know that he called out Matthew. I apologize. I didn't know.